The UFC 298 press conference just took place featuring Alexander Volkanovski, Ilia Topuria, Paulo Costa, Robert Whittaker, Garry, Geoff Neal, Roman Kopylov, Anthony Hernandez, Merab Dvalishvili, and Henry Cejudo. And this is my reaction to that press conference, which was better than I expected it to be, but not from the people that I expected to shine at this press conference. I thought, honestly, this was going to be Garry's big moment, but he kind of fumbled it massively, and now no one cares about his fight with Geoff Neal. He had nothing to say whatsoever, and looked absolutely nervous on the microphone. There were moments in this press conference with Garry and Ilia Topuria where I'm like, hang on, are they going to cry on the microphone right now because they're being booed? Fighters really don't like being booed. Some fighters claim they do, but the vast majority of them want cheers and want to be worshipped by fans. But we're going to go through some of the highlights of the press conference and go through them in order. So, Volk comes out in an old man outfit. We've seen the old man outfit before from the advert that he did. Now he's bringing it to the press conference for his fight with Ilia Topuria. I thought this was a decent move. It brings a different thing to the table. And not normally something that Volkanovski does. But I'm going to be honest with you guys. I'm not hating on Ilia Topuria or Volkanovski. First of all, Ilia Topuria he's gone full villain mode. He doesn't care anymore. He's gone full heel. He knows what he's doing, and I absolutely respect him for doing it. People are going to hate on Ilia for the way he's acting. Dude, he's making this fight everything. He is making that main event it's the main event. You know what I mean? Ilia Topuria, Alexander Volkanovski, skill-wise, is a massive matchup. But Ilia Topuria, willingly and voluntarily putting everything on the line for himself, absolute humiliation or absolute superstardom, has made this main event a much bigger deal. So I see a lot of people hating on Ilia Topuria. What a Conor McGregor wannabe. Why wouldn't you want to be Conor McGregor? He sells millions of pay-per-views. No one else in the sport does. Let Ilia be a villain, for God's sakes. But yeah, Volk comes out in the old man outfit, does some old man stuff. Ilia Topuria immediately gets booed by the crowd massively and starts going back at him for it as well, saying that they're all going to be fans as soon as he's done with Volkanovski. So, you know, he doesn't really care about them booing right now because the second he wins, they're all going to be fanboys of him, which I agree with. If Ilia Topuria goes out there and smokes Volk, everyone's going to be calling him an absolute G for doing it. What a legend. Holy shit, he actually pulled it off. So he's putting it all on the line, calling out the crowd for booing him and stuff like that. I thought he'd have more cheers because there were a lot of Ilia fans in the crowd that were cheering for Merab. I thought they'd also cheer for Ilia, but they were drowned out by the boos of the general fan base that was there, which seemed heavily in favor of Volk. Ilia and Volk immediately start going back and forth. Ilia had some nasty one-liners, but then he kept getting lost in just insulting Volk and then flipping off the crowd. And the crowd booing him really got on his nerves because he couldn't hear himself think. But he starts saying that, he's glad that Volk came dressed for retirement because that's what he's going to do to him this weekend. A couple good lines. Ilia told Volk to get up and humble me. If you're going to humble me, do it right now if you're going to humble me. And then Volk really old manishly gets back up and starts talking about how he's going to teach this young man a lesson. Old Volk's going to teach him a lesson. So there's some decent moments to kick off the press conference, back and forth. We'll get to Ilia taking the belt soon. Merab goes crazy again. Not only is he a title cut, nation cuck as well, okay? Dude starts whipping out the Mexican flag in front of Cejudo and starts waving it around. Now, Cejudo and Volk go back and forth a little bit about Cejudo not being the cringe one anymore because Volk's come out in a costume. You're cringe regardless, Cejudo. You know what I mean? It's not the costume. Volk wasn't cringe for that. You know what I mean? But then Cejudo starts speaking about Merab a little bit. Merab whips out a Mexican flag and starts going, "Let's go Mexico!" and screaming at the top of his lungs with the Mexican flag in front of him and all this. And Mexicans in the crowd go insane. I don't know why there's so many Mexicans. Oh, I guess they are in LA, I guess. But either way, Mexican people in the crowd go insane. So yeah, Merab brings on a whole new fan base there for himself. But the reason why he was doing it, which is maybe lost on a lot of people, is because Henry Cejudo had already been making pops and jokes about how Merab, that like he was saying how Ilia Topuria is like something about Spanish rather than Georgian. So he's immediately playing a game of you aren't really from there, little bro. So I think Merab had heard that, so he came out because Henry Cejudo previously, before in his career, had disowned Mexico. He hates it. I don't know why he did it. It was a really dumb move of him because he could have had another fan base. But he basically refused to hold the Mexican flag at one point. And he said, I'm American. And this was a time where he named his daughter America. His daughter's called America as well. So there was a time, I think you can find a press conference of it, where Henry Cejudo was like, I'm raised in the US. I'm not Mexican. I'm not representing the Mexican flag. I'm representing the US flag. Which I think is A-okay to do. But obviously the Mexicans are going to be like, boo, you don't support us even though you're Mexican in heritage. But then they'd also be like, you're not really Mexican now if he did start holding up the flag. So it's kind of a tricky position for Cejudo to be in there. But Merab starts mocking him for it and showing how, I think he said, they truly deserve to be represented up here because Cejudo had not done it before in his career. So that was Merab's big moment of the press conference. And then Cejudo starts saying some Russian stuff at him or Georgian stuff. I don't know the language, but he was saying something in a language Merab would understand for sure. Going at Merab. And then Paulo Costa shows love. Paulo Costa he's gotten worse at English all of a sudden. Maybe it's just the press conference getting to him, but he got an awful at English all of a sudden. I couldn't really understand what he was saying, but I understood a little bit of it. And he just showed that, he fought at Anaheim before and he fought Yoel Romero or something like that. And, he loved the crowd back then, so he's looking forward to giving everyone a great show again. And he was just being wholesome, winning over the crowd. The crowd was cheering for Paulo Costa, and he was saying that they're the real main event. But I don't believe so, because Ilia has put it all on the line in this main event here. Ian Garry, let's talk about him. What the fuck are you doing, dude? Amp it up a bit, would ya? Such a little boring loser. Honestly, dude, he's nothing without us making fun of him. Absolutely nothing without us making fun of him. What's going on? First of all, he does two things that annoy me. He starts talking about how he doesn't care about the boos and everyone can boo. All he's going to do is show up and put on a performance and win my fight and you'll all be cheering pretty soon or whatever. He doesn't care what people think and all this. And it was a decent thing. It wasn't Ilia telling the crowd to shut the fuck up, which I think Ian Garry should have maybe gone down the pathway of. But then Ian Garry does something so pathetic. So unbelievably pathetic here as well. We got to talk about this. So Geoff Neal's about to get his question about Ian Garry. And just when you thought maybe there could be some heated beef between them, Ian Garry immediately makes friends with Geoff Neal. You know what I mean? I got no problem with him. I'm going to put out my hand for a handshake. And it's up to Geoff Neal if he wants to shake me hand. And he starts looking over at Geoff Neal like, what's the answer? Are you going to shake my hand or not? And Geoff Neal's like, all right, I'll shake your hand, buddy. So Ian Garry begged friends with Geoff Neal so he wouldn't insult him or basically made there no heated beef whatsoever, which I hope is not the new direction of Ian Garry. I hope Ian Garry still feels comfortable enough to talk shit about people. But nowadays, I feel like he's just going to get ahead of them and make it friendly real quick. And then if anyone says anything to him, he can be like, you absolute cunt. You were nice to me backstage and now you're calling me a cook in front of millions of people. Like, Ian Garry really messed up his chance to be something at the press conference. Honestly, he did. And it's really sad that we didn't get him at the Strickland press conference. Really sad that we didn't get him at the Colby Covington press conference. Because that would have made some noise. That would have made some headlines. Instead, we get him on this card. He gets two questions. One question even. And then jumps in on Geoff Neal's one to make friends with him like a little soy boy. And he gets no moment at the press conference. So that's completely wasted. All of the hard work we did roasting him and his family. For nothing. We move on. Ian Garry getting booed non-stop. Fuck him. Who cares? No one gives a fuck. Gru from Despicable Me asks a question to Ilia Topuria. Not even joking. The guy from Despicable Me, Gru, the main character, stands up and goes, "Hello, Ilia. I am look forward to the question for you," and starts asking this weird, he had the weirdest voice. "I'm going to steal the moon," and starts, I'm genuinely serious, it was him. We saw it was an Asian dude. I don't buy it. It was an Asian dude with a voice changer in, and Gru was backstage from Despicable Me talking, "Hello, minions. We have to steal the moon." And he actually sounded, it was so out of left field to hear that guy's voice. Surely if you've got a voice like that, and you know you do, why are you signing up to be at a press conference to ask a question? As soon as he started asking Ilia Topuria, I was like, what the fuck is this? Who is this guy? Show him on camera or something. Where the fuck is this guy from? He sounded so weird. Other than that, Kopylov and Hernandez get small cheers and pop, which is good to see because, even though they're not big names, it shows that the crowd is more hardcore than they may seem because, if they're given a bit of a pop if you're a Roman Kopylov enjoyer, you're pretty in tune with what's going on in MMA right now, you know what I mean? So they gave a pop to Anthony Hernandez, they gave a pop to Roman Kopylov. Nothing too crazy, but it's good to see them get a little bit of a cheer. Other than that, Ilia Topuria takes Volkanovski's belt. They keep going back and forth. They keep trashing each other. They're respectful. Like, they keep shaking each other's hands at the end of all this, but there's that edge between them of competitiveness. And Volkanovski was talking about how Ilia Topuria took his belt at Media Day to take pictures with and how he didn't agree with that and all this type of stuff. And Ilia, I guess, was saying, "I'll take it again right now. This ain't some behind the scenes at backstage taking it for a Media Day thing. I'll take it from you right now." So he got up while Volk was talking and snatched the belt away, held it up like very McGregor-Aldo-ish. If you were sick of hearing the McGregor-Ilia Topuria comparison so far, you'd be very annoyed now because they have literally, I think on ESPN MMA, got a side-by-side of McGregor taking the belt from Aldo and Ilia taking it from Volk, and they're saying like same thing. So we'll see. So they hold it up and then they start squaring off of each other, and Volk says, "I'm going to teach you a lesson, eh? You never take the fucking belt. I'm going to beat your fucking ass. And then maybe you can come back and rebuild yourself after I'm done with you." And he starts talking all this about he's going to humble him and show him some lesson, teach him a lesson in there this weekend. And then, at the end of all of it, I don't think I've missed much. At the end of all of it, though, this is the important thing. Ian Garry is giving middle fingers to the crowd on the stairs. It's a very minor thing, but I found it so funny that Paulo Costa... Oh, Volk pretends to be sleeping while Ilia Topuria is talking trash. That was a good thing to bring in because he's doing the old Volk stuff that he's up to now. So he was pretending to sleep and snore, and then Paulo Costa came over and woke him up and said, "Hey, the press conference," and started trying to get him back in. So that was a cool little moment there. But other than that, Ian Garry was middle fingering the whole crowd while he was on the stairs of the side of the stage. There are people behind him trying to get off the stage, and he stood there like such a narcissist cunt. Stood there, not a care in the world. Paulo pushes him down the steps. Paulo pushed him down the steps. Light push, but I'm glad it was Paulo that did it, because I thought Paulo was going to go off on Ian Garry, but they were sat next to each other, so it kind of took away that ability. But Paulo pushed him down the steps at the end because he was stood there holding up everyone on the stage, middle finger in the crowd and shit. So that's all. Really looking forward to it. I will say, massively amped for the fight this weekend now, more than I was before. Also, I think Alex Volkanovski's going to lose. I think he is. It's too perfect. There's no way Ilia's going to get humbled after all this. It's just too perfect. This would be the biggest humbling in UFC history in terms of a high-profile title fight type vibe. I don't see Volk winning it, man. I think Ilia's got him. And it's sad, but that's the vibe I'm getting. I just feel like it's way too perfect for Volk. It would be way too perfect if Volk humbles him. But I guess we'll find out. Shout out to Ilia Topuria for making this whole event fun. Like and subscribe. See you later. Goodbye.